What if I told you that your child's next 30 years are being decided right now, in this exact moment, in just one 10-minute game? Would you believe me? Picture this scene. Dad walks in the door, doesn't even take off his shoes, and tosses the kid straight up into the air. The kid screams, laughs, shouts, "Again! Again!" From the outside, it just looks like fun. But in that exact same second, inside the child's brain, a chemical storm has already begun, so powerful that its effects last for the next 20 to 30 years. So the question is, where does this storm even begin? The answer is oxytocin. The moment Dad picks the child up, tosses them in the air, oxytocin gets released in both their brains at the same time, the bonding hormone. But here's the twist. It's not just made in the child, it's made in the dad's brain in equal amounts too. So what actually happens when this chemical flows on both sides at once? Ruth Feldman, a psychologist at Bar Ilan University in Israel, spent years researching exactly this. What she found was surprising. When dads engage in physically active play with their kids, both of their hormone levels rise and fall together in the same rhythm. This is called synchrony. Wait, so is this synchrony actually teaching the child something? Absolutely. This synchrony teaches the child's brain what it feels like to connect emotionally with another person. And when the child feels, over and over, that their laughter, their fear, creates the same stirring inside someone else too, a trust deepens inside them that they're not alone. This trust becomes secure attachment. And this later becomes the foundation on which the child builds every relationship they'll ever have. But wait, if this foundation is this strong, does it stay limited to just bonding, or does its effect spread further? This is where the story gets deeper, because oxytocin was only the beginning. The real game hasn't even started yet. Let's say Dad now lies down on the floor, mock wrestling with the kid. Suddenly he says, "I'm gonna get you," and chases after them. The kid runs away screaming, falls, laughs. In that exact moment, another chemical gets released in the body, dopamine. This is why the child keeps asking for the same game, again and again, with the same excitement. But here's what most people ignore. Why isn't this risky play actually risky? Canadian researcher Daniel Paquette found that the way dads play is completely different from moms. Moms focus on comfort and safety. Dads deliberately play a little unpredictably. Paquette named this the activation relationship. Okay, so how does this risk actually benefit the child? The child is bouncing in the air, a slight thrill, something like fear. But the very next second, they're safely back in Dad's arms. This micro-experience repeats over and over, and each time the brain learns that unpredictability can be safe too, as long as a trusted person is there. This lesson goes on to build the courage to take risks and the confidence to try new things. But here's another question that comes up. What happens to kids who don't get this risky play? Researchers say that children who get less of this rough and tumble play often grow up getting nervous even at small challenges. New places, new people, unfamiliar situations. Avoiding all of this becomes their habit. In other words, this play isn't just fun, it's brain training. But hold on, is this limited to just bravery? No. This same mix of fear and joy teaches the brain how to handle intense emotions. Gradually, the child starts to understand. Emotions come, they pass, and you can stay calm through them too. This becomes emotional regulation. Studies in the Journal of Child Development show children whose fathers engage in regular physical play with them show less aggression and better self-control. Okay, so if self-control is getting better, does this effect show up beyond behavior on the child's physical body too? Yes. Some studies also show that when dads engage in playful physical activity with their kids, the balance of testosterone and growth-related hormones in the child's body improves too, which positively affects their confidence, their body language, and even their posture. In other words, this play isn't just shaping the mind, it's shaping the entire body. But another question comes up here. Is this effect limited to just hormones, or does it leave a mark on the brain's structure too? Brain imaging studies have revealed something interesting. When a child repeatedly goes through this kind of playful, unpredictable interaction, their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles decision-making and impulse control, forms connections faster. Meaning, this isn't just a moment of joy, it's a change in the brain's wiring. Okay, so then the question becomes, does this effect look the same for every child, or does it depend on how often the play happens? Here, researchers add something important. This isn't a one-time magic trick. This effect only goes deep when the play pattern repeats itself again and again. A day or two of fun barely touches the brain, but once it becomes a routine, those same 10 minutes every day, that's when permanent changes start happening in the brain's wiring. But listen closely now. This is where a door opens that you probably weren't expecting. This play affects the child's physical brain structure. When dad's expressions change, mirror neurons activate. Dad laughs, the child laughs too. These neurons teach the child, without any lessons, what the other person is feeling. This becomes the foundation of empathy. But the real shocker is still coming. Its effect reaches all the way to the child's language ability. Really? Even language? Studies from Harvard University show that dads use newer, less common words and suddenly steer conversations in different directions. Researcher Meredith Rowe's study shows, at 2 years old, a father's vocabulary is the strongest predictor of a child's future language skills, often even more than the mother's. But why? Why does a dad's conversation affect a child's language more than a mom's? Because there's less predictability in how dads talk. Where moms often talk according to the child's routine and comfort, dads suddenly throw new topics, new questions, new situations at the child. The brain has to wrestle with new words, and that wrestling becomes learning. Now look back. Bonding, risk-taking, emotional control, empathy, language. This is one single chain, where every link pulls the next one along. But one last question remains. Does the effect of this whole chain stay limited to childhood, or does it keep going as the child grows older? Here's where the biggest truth comes in. Longitudinal studies, research that follows children for years, show that kids who got this physical, playful bonding in childhood feel more comfortable talking to their dads even as teenagers. And later on, it becomes easier for them to build trust in their romantic relationships too, because they already learned in childhood that trusting someone can be safe. And here's the final link in this chain. The child is in a new place, surrounded by new people. Their cortisol rises. But children who get regular physical play with their dads develop a better ability to regulate cortisol, because they've repeatedly learned that even mild fear can be tolerable in a safe environment.